VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
And thank you for joining us for a Friday news roundup and comment program here on Crosstalk. And friends, we literally have enough for 2 to 3 hours. We're going to get into it here momentarily, but certainly we've got a world that's in turmoil today. And it's not just what's happening in the borders of the United States, but it's happening all over the world. And we're going to touch on a number of aspects of this to keep us certainly informed, to be understanding of the times in which we live, and to see the dire necessity of being salt and light in this world. Certainly, the gospel needs to be advanced in such a time as this. We can no longer be playing church today. Friends, we have an active role. We have a stewardship to promote the gospel and also to be that salt and have that impact upon our society around us as well. I'm going to begin with Middle East news, and this from the American Family News. The Iran and the U.S. held hours of indirect negotiations yesterday over Tehran's nuclear program, but walked away without a deal, leaving the danger of another Mideast war on the table as the U.S. has gathered a massive fleet of aircraft and warships in the region. Just before the talks ended, Iranian state television reported that Tehran was determined to continue enriching uranium, rejected proposals to transfer it abroad, and sought the lifting of international sanctions, indicating it was not prepared to meet U.S. President Trump's demands. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told reporters Wednesday that Iran is always trying to rebuild elements of its nuclear program. He said Tehran is not enriching uranium right now, but they're trying to get to the point where they ultimately can. SRN News reports that Oman's foreign minister said talks between the U.S. and Iran ended in Geneva but will resume soon. And we understand talks are to take place in Vienna again next week. Many are concerned about all the talks and the stalling, and meanwhile, Iran is preparing. This coming from worthynews.com. Despite diplomatic language suggesting progress, substantial gaps do persist. Iran categorically rejects U.S. demands to dismantle key nuclear facilities, to transfer enriched uranium stockpiles abroad, and permanently end uranium enrichment. Tehran insists enrichment is a sovereign right and has proposed only a temporary freeze for a limited period. Well, according to reports, Washington is demanding full disarmament of Iran's nuclear sites and also to transfer all of the enriched uranium out of Iran, permanent non-expiring restrictions on enrichment, and a rollback of ballistic missile production. Trump administration is reportedly offering limited sanctions relief in exchange for compliance. Newsmax saying that the U.S. Embassy in Israel today told its staff it could leave the country and urged anyone considering departure to do so immediately as a threat of an American strike on Iran looms. The U.S. Ambassador Mike Huckabee told embassy employees in an email that discussions with officials in Washington had led to a decision authorizing departures for those who wish to leave. Pamela Geller reporting that while Iran engages in fake negotiations to stall, deceive, and lie to the Trump administration, they announced that they will be buying anti-ship missiles from China. Pamela says President Trump must stop these negotiations with Iran close to buying the CM-302 supersonic cruise missiles from China, capable of destroying U.S. aircraft carriers. That's according to Reuters. From Fox News, as President Trump pressures Iran to abandon its nuclear ambitions and rising tensions, Vice President Vance told the Washington Post there is no chance that the U.S. will enter a years-long war in the Middle East. From Worthy News, Congressional Democrats are moving to force votes in the House and Senate to block President Trump from launching any military action against Iran without prior congressional approval, citing the 1973 War Powers Act. WNG.org reports the Treasury Department has levied new sanctions against Iran on Wednesday. The sanctions targeted 30 Iranian individuals, businesses, and vessels that facilitates Iran's illicit petroleum sales and the country's ballistic missile and weapons production. Breitbart is reporting an Iranian opposition group took credit for a coordinated assault on Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei's Tehran headquarters this week, reporting heavy clashes with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps that allegedly left more than 100 of its firefighters killed, wounded, or arrested. According to the group, more than 250 fighters were involved in the clashes. It said over 100 were martyred, wounded, or detained. Another 150 did return to the safely to their base by midnight. From the Free Beacon, Iran is producing ballistic missiles armed with chemical and biological capabilities in preparation for a military confrontation with the U.S. and Israel. That's according to Israel's military advisor, Amir Avivi, who told the Washington Free Beacon that such missiles would be dealt with in any strike on Iran. Fox News reporting President Trump warning that Iran is working to build missiles that could soon reach the U.S., elevating concerns about a weapons program that already places U.S. forces across the Middle East. The range places a broad network of U.S. military infrastructure across the Gulf presently within reach. Military Times telling us that the U.S. has ordered non-essential personnel and their families to leave its embassy in Beirut. The official said the drawdown is a prudent step to reduce the American footprint in the region. It is remaining operational, though, with core staff. Friends, can you see what's building right now in the Middle East and the tensions that are going on? It is going to continue on. A Greek reporter is saying that U.S. fighter jets and support aircraft are moving through the bay in Greece, part of a broader adjustment in military posture. The redeployment comes as Washington evaluates potential military options related to Tehran's nuclear program. And from the Pamela Geller, as she reports from INN, the federal grand jury has indicted 3 engineers from San Jose on suspicion of stealing sensitive trade secrets from Google and other leading semiconductor firms. According to the indictment, the information was transferred to unauthorized destinations, including a direct transfer to Iran, part of an alleged conspiracy to remove confidential material from the companies. Let's get on to another issue here, friends, and because there is much going on, I would like to revisit the matter of the State of the Union address. From townhall.com, Vice President Vance revealed what he saw. You know, we all saw that pool feed, but he's got a unique perspective to get another view of what's going on there on the congressional floor. And what he saw during the State of the Union address, he accused Democrats of displaying what he called cowardice on the floor. Here's what he had to say. And this was on Fox News.
Well, I saw a couple of things, Bill. First of all, obviously, most Democrats didn't stand up or clap. And what a shame that is. What a sad commentary that is on the Democratic Party, that the idea that the American government should stand for American citizens, not illegal aliens, that shouldn't be controversial, but apparently it was to the Democrats. But I will say, Bill, something that I saw that probably most TV viewers didn't see was really the cowardice, because there were a few Democrats who sort of politely clapped. They didn't want to stand up. I guess maybe they were worried about being primaried by the far left fringe of their party. But they were all looking around. They weren't actually saying, you know what, I'm going to stand and support this because this is a common sense, obvious statement. They were all looking around for cues from their colleagues because they didn't have the courage to stand on their own. And that, more than anything, Bill, is the saddest commentary on the Democratic Party, that not only will they not stand for the idea that Americans should come first, they won't even have the courage of their convictions. They lean on the person to their left and their right rather than actually have some conviction. That is unfortunately what's true about Democrats in Washington today.
That's Vice President J.D. Vance on Fox. Also, the Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries called Republicans cult-like for standing up and clapping. Now, I guess he forgot what happened when Mr. Obama was president, when former President Obama was at the podium there and delivering his address. But here's what Hakeem Jeffries had to say, and this he was on MS Now.
The leadership of the Congress jumping up to applaud that. How do you explain it as someone who sees it up close?
Yeah, the cult-like behavior of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle is a complete and total abdication of their responsibility to conduct themselves like a separate and co-equal branch of government.
Isn't that interesting? Call-like behavior, standing up and applauding the president. As we mentioned the other day on Crosstalk, one of the very most revealing parts came when Congress was asked to stand up if they believe the first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens and not illegal aliens. Well, Democratic Representative Janelle Bynum said it was racist and uncomfortable when the president asked them to stand up. Here's what she had to say.
What did you think about that moment when the president was asking Democrats to stand up for American citizens during that part of the speech when he was talking about immigration and immigration enforcement efforts?
I think you can agree with the what, like standing up for American citizens, but I disagree with the how. And so it's always about how do we bring our country together, but not stand on the backs of others. There's thinly veiled racist language, anti-immigrant language in what he was asking, and that was uncomfortable.
It was uncomfortable. Thinly veiled racist language. Asking Congress to stand up if they believe the first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens and not illegal aliens. My. Well, friends, it also continued. That was from C-SPAN 2. CNN also, Jake Tapper brought on Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, in addressing this. And listen to this exchange.
He said, quote, "These people are crazy. I'm telling you, they're crazy." I mean, but that's not something we ever heard from Obama or Biden from that stage.
No, I mean, listen, we've never had a speaker rip up a speech either. But when you're saying issues like we're talking about trucking, we have, and it comes in my space, where you have states that are issuing driver's licenses to illegals who haven't been trained to drive a 80,000-pound truck on an American road. We have a little girl that had a life impacted for the rest of her life, and she's 5 years old, and it was an illegal who hit her. I think the question becomes, why doesn't every Democrat stand up and go, no, we want well-qualified drivers on American roads. That's not partisan. We don't want illegals who can't speak the language, contrary to American law for decades, to not be on American roads. I think those are easy issues, Jake, and I don't think we saw Democrats stand up and support them. We got some applause for the U.S. Olympic hockey team, but that was probably one of the only bipartisan moments of the night, which I think is too bad. Again, if inflation's down, Democrats should applaud it. If real incomes are up, Democrats should applaud it. Those are good things that we should support as Americans. And just because Donald Trump's in office doesn't mean you have to sit on your hands. You should applaud that because that's good for America. Oh, good message there from Sean Duffy, Transportation Secretary. And it was very interesting about Jake Tapper saying, well, Obama and Biden didn't call people crazy. And Duffy responded, yeah, but we had somebody tearing up the president's speech afterwards as well. Comment there to Nancy Pelosi. Also, from the Washington Stand, the Trump administration's crackdown on unsafe foreign truck drivers continues to build momentum. Sean Duffy Saturday announced 3 new initial rules from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to further enhance road safety. Will require all commercial driver's license tests to be administered in English, add an ID verification step to the new verification system, and crack down on chameleon carriers that change their paperwork every time a safety issue arises. We've got more information coming up on the News Roundup here on Crosstalk. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back in 1 minute here on the VCY American Network.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, geologist and president of the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, are spiders ever found in the fossil record?
Yes, unbelievably, Chris, they are. Not only spiders, but sometimes spider webs are found. A spider and its web was found in amber, which was dated by evolutionists at 190 million years old. Now, I don't buy the date. I think the amber was formed at the time of Noah's flood. But think how silly this makes the millions of years idea look. Spider silk is so fragile, it dehydrates and deteriorates quite quickly. Does anybody really think it's going to last for 190 million years? Chris, a better idea is out there. It's the back to Genesis idea of creation and the flood.
If you'd like to go back to Genesis, you can find us on the web at www.icr.org. For the Institute for Creation Research, I'm Chris O'Brien. Thanks for tuning in.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America. It's our Friday News Roundup and Comment program today. Our thanks to Sandy for getting all these stories here. Thanks to Molly on the phones today, who also got me a cup of hot tea here today. And our thanks to Dennis up in the control room, to our whole VCY America staff dedicated to getting out the truth of the Word of God, and certainly understanding the need that we have in this time, for such a time as this, to be good stewards and to be salt and to be light as well. Well, there's just one other issue I want to bring up here with the State of the Union address, and it deals with the U.S. men's hockey team and the women's hockey team as well. First of all, the media has been just really trying to pit the men's team against the women's team, and the women's team to speak out against the Trump administration, on. And several of the women's team members have been standing up to the media in that regard. But it's also interesting to see the criticism that has been leveled against the men's hockey team. You're just being used as pawns, going to the White House and visiting with the president and standing up there during this State of the Union. And they've been criticized over and over and over and over again by the media. But friends, can we just reverse course to 12 years ago? Let's go back to the year 2012. And the left was singing a much different tune back then, courtesy of townhall.com, that brought this to our attention, because on MSNBC, when President Obama was there and somebody refused to go, a hockey player refused to go to the White House, they were criticizing that hockey player. Not all those that went to the White House. Just listen in. Let's go back to the year 2012. This was then MSNBC.
It's time, as it always is, for What Now? Boston Bruins goalie Tim Thomas, RSVP'd thanks, but no thanks to a White House invitation. What do we make of that? Tim Thomas points out that Tim Thomas said, I exercise my right as a free citizen and did not visit the White House. This was not about politics or party, as in my opinion, both parties are responsible for the situation we are in as a country.
I think this is kind of the hyper-partisanship that just irritates everybody. It's like, just go to the White House. You don't have to run an ad or cut a commercial or anything. Just go to the White House, take part, celebrate, just like everybody else celebrates with Republicans or Democratic presidents.
Especially when you're getting honored. Obama made specific mention of him during his 6-minute address.
Isn't that something, how the tide has turned? And they criticize the man who would not go to the White House under the Obama presidency, and at the same time criticizing those who do go to the White House under the Trump presidency. Get the irony there, or should I say hypocrisy? Let's get on to another issue today. Ramadan going on, and the mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, last Friday joined up with Ramadan prayers at an Islamic center where there were some very dangerous prayers offered up to Allah during that appearance as well. And this is what Mayor Mamdani had to say last Friday. We'll see if we can get to that clip here. One moment. And for some reason, that's not coming through. I'll tell you what he said, though. He mentioned last Ramadan, I was with many of you at the procession of the martyrdom anniversary of Imam Ali. It's my privilege to be with you once again. I stand before you as the first Muslim mayor in our city's history, and this year is the first Friday prayer that I have attended in the new position. And so together, it's a reminder that it is the month of Ramadan as we find moments of reflection, of recommitment, moments of community. That's what he had stated. And I find it very interesting as well that after his speech, there were clips from the service that included an imam praying, I ask Allah to send blessings upon Muhammad and the family of Muhammad and to make me among those who await the Mahdi, follow you and support you against your enemies, among those who are martyred before you, among the ranks of your loyal ones. Take no Jews, or don't take the infidel for your friend. That's Jews and Christians. Very interesting indeed. Speaking of Mamdani, LifeNews.com reports that he just hired a former Planned Parenthood lawyer to prosecute perceived violators of New York's Civil Rights Code, which includes abortion. This one coming from Pamela Geller, a Palestinian Islamic scholar in Chicago, Mohammed Nusariat, has a message for you all. He said, we did not come here to coexist. We are superior to everyone else, and we will not be surpassed. No one is above us. If other religions want to live with us, they have to worship Allah. Friends, isn't this what we have been told from Shahram Hadian and Usama Dakdak here on the station, on Crosstalk here? We don't come here to coexist. We are here to be superior to everybody else. Matter of fact, Jihad Watch reporting New York City has officially become a staging ground for terror sympathizers under the shadow of Hamas flags. Radicals are now openly calling for mass murder on American streets, promising that their next move will be even louder than the October 7th massacre in Israel. Jihad Watch reporting that this is amazing, friends. I mean, if I were doing a What in the World program, this would be one of those stories today. To-go meal perks are not offered to students of other faiths on their holy days, but only to Muslim students. The Charlottesville City Schools School Board centered out Muslims for special treatment at taxpayer expense, having prayer rooms reserved for Muslim students here during Ramadan, and also Ramadan meals being sent home. Take-out meals. And then we see the corporate pressure once again. McDonald's, this is from WND.com. McDonald's, the international fast food corporate giant, is submitting to Islam during this year's Ramadan. A commentary at PJ Media pointed out the company has decided to remove food images from outdoor electronic advertising signs in Germany during daylight hours. It's because during Ramadan, Muslims fast and object to these people eating food or even seeing images of food. The Islamist population in Germany is only about 5.5%. But that is enough to make corporations change operations, apparently. And this, again, is what Usama has said. When it gets to be a 5 to 6% of the population, they believe they have the upper hand. Shahram refers it to as being the upper house. Jihad Watch also reporting a brouhaha ensued at Tuesday's Wiley Independent School District School Board meeting in Texas, where dozens of attendees demanded answers about how an outside group called Why Islam has nothing to do with the school was able not only to enter the school, but to set up a table on campus during school hours earlier this month without district approval. The president of the school's Republican club describes what he saw, giving out hijabs to girls throughout the high school, and they were giving out Qurans as they also had given out pamphlets about Sharia. Happening, Texas, the Wiley Independent School District. Oh, friends, there's so much. We could do a full program on that issue today, but we're going to move on to yet another. Axios.com reporting Elon Musk artificial intelligence company xAI has signed an agreement to allow the military to use its model Grok in classified systems, a defense official confirmed to Axios. Up to now, Anthropic's Claude has been the only model available in the systems in which the military's most sensitive intelligence work, weapons development, and battlefield operations take place, but the Pentagon is threatening Anthropic in a dispute over safeguards and may soon need a replacement. Anthropic has refused the Pentagon's demand that they make Claude available for all lawful purposes, insisting in particular on blocking its use for the mass surveillance of Americans and the development of fully autonomous weapons. xAI agreed to that lawful use standard. And some would call it awful as well. Let's move on to let's get back to Texas again. You're involved in an election coming up, March 3rd. Texans, are you listening? Early voting has been going on for this Texas March 3 primary. Early voting continues through today, February 27th. And while the primary chooses party nominees for November, there is a proposition on the ballot. It's a defining moment for Texas. It's Proposition 10. It's entitled Texas Should Prohibit Sharia Law. This non-binding proposition is the people's opportunity to send a clear message to Austin lawmakers before the upcoming legislative session that Texas will never allow a foreign legal system to undermine the Constitution. That is on the ballot here, and March 3rd, this coming week, Tuesday being that date of election. And again, early voting going on through today. Let's see. Newsmax.com, February 24th, marked the 4th anniversary of Russian President Vladimir Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, a war that was supposed to last days, but has instead become one of the deadliest conflicts in Europe since World War II. From the outset, Putin's decision to launch the unprovoked aggression against a sovereign neighboring country shattered international norms and has cost hundreds of thousands of lives, has wounded millions, has devastated Ukraine's cities and infrastructure. There are independent estimates that convey a staggering human loss. As far as military casualties, killed, wounded, or missing on both sides are estimated to be as high as 1.8 million total, with the majority coming under Russia, including 325,000 troop deaths for Russia, 140,000 for Ukraine, but so many more wounded or missing. Civilian casualties also reporting some 40,600 injuries, 14,999 civilian deaths, and even civilian victims, 763 children victimized, some the deadliest year for non-combatants in 2025 since the invasion began. Well, it's reported here by JNS News that Israel donated 117 generators to Ukraine. Foreign Minister Gideon Saar said on Tuesday, marking this 4th anniversary, the units were deployed around Kyiv starting on Wednesday. From the Epoch Times, the Trump administration on February 26 urged the U.S. Supreme Court to allow the government to end temporary deportation protections for thousands of Syrian nationals living in the U.S. The New York City-based U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit has blocked the Department of Homeland Security from rescinding a temporary protected status order for around 6,000 Syrians, prompting the administration to appeal. The Gateway Pundit reporting that the Department of Justice Wednesday announced a former U.S. Air Force pilot arrested for training Chinese military pilots. Gerald Eddie Brown, 65 years of age, arrested Wednesday in Jeffersonville, Indiana. The 24-year-old Air Force veteran was charged by a criminal complaint for providing and conspiring to provide defense services to Chinese military pilots without authorization. That's in violation of the Arms Export Control Act. And from the Epoch Times, the Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese's evacuation from his residence in response to a bomb threat earlier this week was not an isolated incident. Instead, he's one of 6 world leaders targeted in a China-linked intimidation campaign, the Epoch Times has learned. Since January, bomb and death threats by email have targeted a Canadian prime minister, the Taiwanese president, South Korean president, the Italian president, and the Danish prime minister. They're sent in all similar in tone, and the graphic threats they make all have been written in Chinese, and their message is the same: cancel the scheduled shows by Shenyang Performing Arts or face the consequences. None of the threats have turned out to be real. They represent an escalation of a decades-long campaign targeting this New York-based performing arts company. We'll be back in just 1 minute. You're listening to Crosstalk, a News Roundup Friday, here on the VCY American Network.
No matter what issues you experience in life, you will find help in the book of Psalms. The Psalms bring comfort to a hurting heart.
The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want.
As read by Brad Canterbury, VCY America is offering an audio CD, a complete reading of the book of Psalms, bringing hope in times of discouragement.
Why art thou cast down, O my soul? And why art thou disquieted within me? Hope in God.
The Psalms provide direction for daily living.
Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path.
Good for yourself and to share with others. This 5-CD set is available for a donation of $20 by calling 1-800-729-9829. 1-800-729-9829.
You know, yesterday on Crosstalk, we brought back that special interview with Dr. Erwin Lutzer, Why Doesn't God Answer My Prayers? A very remarkable book, and really, as he pointed out, our redemption in Christ Jesus is due to an unanswered prayer. As Jesus prayed in the garden, let this cup pass from me. But he added those words, nevertheless I will, but thy will be done. And we sometimes wonder, why doesn't God answer our prayers? We had many people reach out to our bookstore yesterday. That 50% off does end tomorrow. That's part of our nonprofit ministry of VCY America, the VCY bookstore. Money goes right back into ministry. And if you want to take advantage of that, you can reach out to the bookstore yet today and tomorrow at vcy.com. That's vcy.com or 1-888-722-4829. Again, they have that half off newly released book that is taking place through tomorrow. 1-888-722-4829. The Epoch Times is reporting the Chinese regime has expelled 9 senior military leaders from its legislature controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, adding the signs that turbulence continues within the upper echelon at the country's armed forces. Been a lot of things going on there. Also from Fox News, the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, has handed his teenage daughter a leadership role in the regime's powerful missile administration. She's believed to be 13 or 14 years old and is believed to suggest that Kim's daughter is receiving briefings from generals and issuing directives. That's kind of an interesting matter going on there. Friends, there's not been a whole lot in the media as it pertains to this gunman who was shot at Mar-a-Lago. Pamela Geller points out another intended attack on President Trump. U.S. Secret Service and a Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputy shot and killed a man in his early 20s after he breached the inner perimeter at Mar-a-Lago, carrying a shotgun and a gas can. When confronted, he pointed the shotgun at them, was quickly neutralized by the officers. He drove 700 miles to attack the president's home. And friends, when you think about how many attempts have been on the life of President Trump, and it barely is breaking the news cycle. Oh, you get the breaking news for a bit, and then it quickly goes away. No breathless panels, no primetime outrage specials, no threat to democracy, flashing across every network. Remember when there was a rodeo clown that wore an Obama mask? I mean, it was treated like a national emergency. A costume triggering moral panic, but an armed breach at a former president's residence? Well, we just get crickets. From JustTheNews.com, federal prosecutors have alleged that 2 Iranian-linked plots to assassinate then-candidate Donald Trump, both allegedly linked to Iranian intelligence services, were launched in 2024 as Iran sought to meddle in the election to stop then-former President Trump's return to the White House. The Justice Department filed charges against Pakistani national Asif Merchant and against Afghan national Farhad Shakari for their alleged roles in Iranian-backed assassination plots. Shakari remains at large in Iran. Merchant has pleaded not guilty, and the trial against him begins this week. LifeSiteNews.com reports that Borje Brende, the president and CEO of the World Economic Forum, he has resigned after the WEF launched an investigation into his business ties with sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Also, Newsmax reporting that the former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers will resign from teaching at Harvard at the end of the academic year because of fallout from his ties to Jeffrey Epstein as well. This coming to us from the Free Beacon. The Trump administration has sued the University of California after alleging that its Los Angeles campus created a hostile work environment for Jewish employees and turned a blind eye to and at times facilitated grossly anti-Semitic acts, swastika calls for the extermination of Jews, and the Jewish state of Iran, anti-Semitic violence, and open harassment of Jewish students, faculty, and staff. Let's see. We've got here from OANN.com, the World Trade Center's final tower in New York City is set to begin construction as soon as this spring, 25 years after the 9/11 demolished the original Twin Towers, what is now known as Ground Zero. Governor Hochul joined American Express to announce Wednesday that the credit card company plans to build a new state-of-the-art global headquarters at 2 World Trade Center, deepening the company's longtime commitment to Lower Manhattan. Washington Times, the Trump administration says it has officially ended the collection of tariffs canceled by the Supreme Court at midnight on Tuesday. U.S. Customs and Border Protection alerted importers of the change in a post on its cargo systems messaging service. The Dallas News reports that FedEx Monday has filed a lawsuit in the U.S. Court of International Trade seeking a refund for President Trump's emergency tariffs, which the Supreme Court deemed illegal last week. Just the News reporting Kathy Hochul, governor of New York, is also demanding that the Trump administration refund residents of New York up to $13.5 billion in the wake of this ruling. Washington Times, the Trump administration said Wednesday it will reconstruct its trade system with very durable duties that penalize nations for unfair practices. That's one day after the president told Congress that the import levies would remain front and center in his midterm year economic push. Let's see. This is important news. Western Journal telling us 2 more vacancies are reportedly opening at the U.S. Court of Appeals that will allow President Trump to increase his footprint over the federal judiciary. Last week, the Chief Judge Jeffrey Sutton of the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, that's based in Cincinnati, and Chief Judge Deborah Ann Livingston of the Second Circuit, that is in New York City, announced her plans to assume senior status later this year. Senior status is a form of semi-retirement, creates a vacancy for a new appointee. Washington Examiner tells us the Justice Department has appealed a court ruling Tuesday blocking the Trump administration from penalizing Senator Mark Kelly for urging military members to disobey illegal orders. The DOJ filed this appeal in the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia. That's on behalf of Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and the U.S. Navy. Townhall.com, FBI Director Kash Patel has fired agents and analysts who spied on him. And White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles under the Biden administration, ABC News reported that FBI agents who worked on the 2022 Mar-a-Lago raid on former President Trump's home as part of an investigation into the president's handling of classified documents has lost their jobs. Multiple sources told CBS News at least 10 FBI employees tied to Special Counsel Jack Smith's investigation into classified records were fired this past Wednesday. I'm skipping past a number of stories. There are so many things. Yes, the SAVE Act is, wondering where that's going to go. There's some who are stressing a talk filibuster rather than an actual 60-vote filibuster. This is interesting from Grand Rapids, Michigan. WND.com, Democratic Mayor David LeGrand of Grand Rapids claimed during a Monday community forum that people should start shaming gun owners. LeGrand's comments came during a regularly scheduled Mayor Monday forum, and he weighed in not only on firearms ownership, which he said gun owners should feel ashamed, but also on policies involving the pursuit of suspects and the use of police dogs. He said nobody gardens with a gun, right? Nobody changes their tire with a gun. What they're for is killing human beings, and so it's really hard. I think as a community we have to start having some shaming around gun possession. He said this on a video posted to Facebook by Fox 17 reporter Josh Berry. He said, I think if you've got a gun, you should be ashamed of yourself. I really do. During the event, he also criticized the police department's use of dogs to help pursue and to subdue suspects. Oh, friends, it's happened again. The Daybreak Insider tells us A.B. Hernandez, the male competitor who does quite well dominating females, this time at an event in Ontario, California. In the long jump, in women's competition, he beat a young lady by 3 feet and dominated the triple jump, besting a young lady by nearly 6 feet. When will we learn? Okay, cite from resistthemainstream.com. Oregon Democrats blocked a bill last week that aimed to ensure medical care for infants born alive after abortions, drawing criticism from pro-life advocates and raising questions about the state's commitment to protecting newborns. The proposed law would have required any health care provider present at the birth of an infant surviving an abortion to deliver the same standard of care that would be given to a newborn of similar gestational age. The committee votes split largely along party lines. 34 Democrats opposed the measure and 22 Republicans supporting it. Canada, so troubling. LifeNews.com, people in Canada having their lives ended by assisted suicide on the same day that they're making request. This adds to the fears that there are wrongful deaths may be occurring. An official report by the chief coroner of Ontario's Medical Assistance in Dying Death Review Committee highlighted that in 2023, 65 people in Ontario had their lives ended by Canada's assisted suicide and the euthanasia program on the same day that they made the request to do so. I don't know why it takes us so long to get this information. They should already, if they did it 65 in 2023, how many more in 2024? How many more in 2025? They also found another 154 people had their lives ended the day after the request was made. And Canada is about to abort, kill its 100,000th citizen through medical aid in dying this spring. 100,000 citizens killed through euthanasia, and they're going to hit that mark this spring, reports LifeNews.com. Okay, troubling news all over the place. By the way, I don't know if you've heard this public service announcement that have come out from the Education Secretary, Linda McMahon. She's telling individuals that are teachers, you're not tied to your union. So many of these unions are advocating for very leftist policies. It's not about reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's not about the children. It's advancing leftist causes. And she created this announcement.
Teachers, did you know you are not obligated to pay union dues no matter what state you live in? In 2018, the Supreme Court ruled that public employees, including teachers, cannot be required to join or pay a union as a condition of employment. This was a huge win for American workers. No employee should feel obligated to hand over their salary to a union that is bankrolling political causes with their hard-earned paycheck. If you choose to stay, that's your call. The point is, the choice is yours. Returning education to the states is about empowering parents, students, and teachers alike, ensuring those closest to the child are making decisions that work for their students, not special interests or bureaucrats sitting in Washington, D.C. For guidance and answers to common questions, visit mypaymysay.com.
Okay, that, again, the Education Secretary, Linda McMahon, sharing that message to the nation. And also from Fox News, this just came out not long before the program here. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced that 25 more arrests had been made in connection with the storming of City's church by anti-ICE agitators last month. Today, they unsealed an indictment charging 30 more people who took part in the attack on City's church in Minnesota. Bondi said, at my direction, federal agents have already arrested 25 of them, with more to come throughout the day. You cannot attack a house of worship. If you do so, you cannot hide from us. We will find you, arrest you, and prosecute you. This Department of Justice stands for Christians and all Americans of faith. We're going to take a quick break. Friends, let's open our lines. Your comments on these or other current event stories. Our number is 800-733-9829. 800-733-9829. This is Crosstalk.
For the Worldview Report, I'm Brandon House. Our website's worldviewtube.com. Many today have a mistaken eschatology. They believe that we're to build God's kingdom. Well, that's a lot of pressure. But you know what? It's not even biblical. It's not what's in the Bible. Many people think the church is losing. Well, that's because they've been told there are certain goals and objectives of the church that are not the goals and objective of the church. There are many reasons we know this. Daniel chapter 2, verses 44 to 45 says, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom. We also see this in Daniel, where it says that the kingdom that will crush the earthly kingdoms is a stone that was cut without human hands. Jesus himself in John chapter 18, verse 36 said, "My kingdom is not of this world." Can I tell you, my friends, our mandate is not a great conquest, but the Great Commission. Don't become demoralized by thinking the church is losing. That's only if you have the wrong priorities and objectives of the church. It's to go out and be involved in the Great Commission. Amen.
This is Crosstalk on VCY America, and friends, again, the disregard for human life, heartbreaking tragedy out of New Mexico, reminding our nation why safe haven laws matter. It was a 38-year-old been charged after allegedly giving birth to a baby girl during a lake trip, leaving the newborn in a portable toilet where the infant died. They realized that she had given birth, child not with her. They responded to the lake, searched the portable restrooms, including the holding tank where they discovered the body of a baby girl. Shame on this nation. Shame on this nation for allowing abortion to take place and putting our sanction on it. Our number to crosstalk, 800-733-9829. 800-733-9829. Alice in Arkansas, you're on the air.
Oh, thank you so much for taking my call. I would like to give everybody a history lesson. I would like to go back to October 21st of 1962. It was actually my 17th birthday. President Kennedy learned about the Cuban Missile Crisis. The next day, he addressed the nation. What terror, what awful fear gripped this nation, not knowing whether we would exist or not. But you know, God was with us, and God saw to it that the Russians were returning home with the missiles on the ship. But I learned this wonderful fact of God protecting this nation, and that was from Brandon House, I believe, of course, for your station. Anyway, there was a Russian commandant.
Yeah, to tell you what, very, very quickly, Alice, we are limited on time.
And he was sailing around New York City. Mm-hmm. He decided that I've got enough ammunition to blow up New York City. But he said there was a hand that would not let him push that button as he put his hand on the button. May I say, if God be for us, who can be against us? But where are we today in God's eyesight?
Amen. Thank you, Alice. Sam in Wisconsin, you're on the air.
Yeah, Brother Jim, listening to all the news that we know, brother, who's really in charge of things. And just to kind of accentuate that, this coming Monday is a Jewish festival of Purim, where Queen Esther and King Mordecai defeated the Persians in a war. So we all know who's in charge, brother. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. And you know, we look at Esther, and she recognized, as Mordecai had said, you know, who knows, you're not here for such a time as this. As she said, if I perish, I perish, and recognize the stewardship of her time and the responsibility that she had in that regard. Papa D in Dodge County, you're on the air.
Hi, Jim. Thanks for taking my call. My comment is on the murder of the preborn and the innocence of these babies. Until our country outlaws this horrific practice, until people hear from the pulpit that this is murder, things aren't going to change, Jim. Jesus said, "Suffer not, let the children come." That's not a suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
That's a command.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we can emphasize it more about these little precious babies. The economy means nothing. We're going to leave this world with nothing. What means something is how we act as not only a country, but the church, Jim. Church has got each pastor's got to pound a pulpit.
Thank you for the call.
Open on the subject.
Thank you. Thank you, Papa D, for the call here. And let me just give a word to our Minnesota listeners, and that is the Minnesota Senate Committee just passed along party lines a bill for an amendment to enshrine unlimited abortion in the state constitution. They're putting forth a proposed constitutional amendment on the ballot for voters in the fall, a so-called version of the so-called Equal Rights Amendment. But it would be abortion without limits at any stage of pregnancy. Let's see. Mark in Monroe, you're on the air.
Hey, Jim. I think President Trump's march of requests for prayer is exceptionally crucial to America's future. As much as 2 Chronicles 7:14 is mentioned, it is conditional. I mean, God does resist the proud. There's a time where he does turn his face, and he does not hear prayer, and men do not turn from their wicked ways. So I think this prayer day is, like I said, that crucial to change the hearts of the U.S. in order to move forward. If not, I think we are possibly in for a very shaky stretch.
Yeah.
So,
thank you, Mark. Yeah, to remind us as a nation that we are one nation under God. Our final call from Carlton, Minnesota. Rex, you're on the air.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. I'm almost 80 years old, and history-wise, I'm really concerned for my grandkids and great-grandkids. However, with Islam, all the laws that are being passed today, and they want to take over, what's it going to take for America to wake up? And I would hate to see a Maccabees situation arise, but I keep wondering, is that a possibility? So thank you for taking my call.
Okay. Thank you, Rex, and thank you for the question to ponder here as well. I do want to close with this story here from LifeSiteNews.com. It's a man who saved an 8-month-old baby girl from drowning in Lake Michigan after he jumped into its icy waters. This is from LifeSiteNews.com, just came out this week. Leo Cundiff was walking along the Belmont Harbor in Chicago, wishing a happy belated birthday to his aunt on the phone when he heard a woman scream and saw a stroller with a baby inside swept into Lake Michigan by a strong gust of wind. I wasn't going to let that baby die, he said. He reportedly does not swim, he told Fox 10. I immediately dropped up my phone, threw my jacket off. I realized the woman was in too much shock to do anything, which is more than understandable, so I thought, I guess I'm going in. Jumped in the water, grabbed a hold of the stroller with the baby still strapped in. He just held the stroller up, thinking I've got to keep her head above water. I just kept trying to keep her safe. That was my only thought. Bystanders soon made haste to pull he and the baby ashore, and threw out the sleeve of his jacket. They could grab onto it, holding the stroller. Another bystander found a life ring and threw it toward him. And indeed, this baby was saved. Praise the Lord for that. Friends, you know, that's what children need to be rescued that are in the womb today. They do. And I think about the rescue that Jesus Christ did for each of us, dying for the sins of the world. Trust him as your Savior. The Lord's Day is coming. Trust you'll be in a Bible-believing, Bible-teaching local church. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Take Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208. Or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.